Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. And Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Trustee Arnett, Trustee Holder, Trustee Kotinik.
Here.
Trustee Kukler, Trustee Langen.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
President Livingston.
Here, and with that, we do have a quorum. Mr. Clerk, if you would lead us in the pledge.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
All right, item number 2, President's Report. A couple of announcements, and then we have 2 items of business. First of all, budget workshop. This past Saturday, we held our annual budget workshop to review the proposed operating expenditures for the upcoming budget year. The preliminary FY 16-17 village budget is available at the Village Hall and also online, www.villageoflagrange.com. The budget will be considered at our regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, April 11th, and a public hearing on the proposed budget is also scheduled at that time, and residents are invited to provide comment. And I think on behalf of the board, we want to thank our department heads and Bob for their thorough presentations. It gives us the luxury of really taking a deep dive at our budget, setting priorities, and working with what is a very solid fiscal situation for the village of LaGrange in this year. Spring cleanup is coming. We have that coming the week of April the 11th on your regular collection day only. To participate, residents are required to affix 3 stickers in total to the unlimited household refuse set out for collection. There are certain exceptions that apply, such as construction and demolition debris, hazardous materials, and the like. And also, for more information, you can go to our website on the spring cleanup, as well as other recycling and waste reduction alternatives. The next item, today I was able to attend the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus meeting in Chicago. This is a organization we're a member of. It's about 200 municipalities, and we have quarterly meetings to discuss common issues, which this time of year tend to be budgetary. Well, there was a resolution that was looked at for sustainability and approved that can be beneficial for sharing information amongst villages that we will certainly take a look at as we advance through our policies. This next item is really terrific. The village has been awarded the prestigious Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 20th consecutive year. This is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a governmental body and its management. The village's financial support has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users to read and understand the report. So really, again, congratulations to our finance department, in particular Lou Ciparoni and Joe Muniza, for this significant achievement. Lou, we can't thank you enough. You're on a great run, and it really helps us as a governing body to operate with credibility and precision over our budget. Next item, electronics recycling event. A recycling electronics collection event will be held on Saturday, April 16th from 9 a.m. to 11:30 in Westchester. While appliances will not be accepted, computer equipment, printers, telephones, stereos, and most televisions will be accepted. For a complete list of accepted and unaccepted items, as well as a map to the collection location, please visit the village's website at thevillageoflagrange.com. Actually, finally here, I'm in the receipt of a letter from the president of the Arbor Day Foundation. I will not read the whole letter, but it says, on behalf of the Arbor Day Foundation, He writes to congratulate LaGrange on earning recognition as a 2015 Tree City USA, and that the residents of LaGrange should be proud to live in a community that makes the planting and care of trees a priority. And we are one of 3,400 Tree City USAs, with a combined population of 140 million people. So again, thanks to our team for all those many accomplishments. And again, we will continue to discuss and look at our budget as we advance towards our next regular meeting on April the 11th. As a housekeeping note, our next village board meeting will be canceled on March the 28th for spring break, and we will convene regularly after that. Trustee Kukler and Trustee Arnett have checked in. Welcome to you all as well. Now it's my pleasure to administer the oath of office to firefighter paramedic Alex Barajas. That is item A. Due to a vacancy in the LaGrange Fire Department, the LaGrange Board of Fire and Police Commissioners have appointed Mr. Alex Barajas to the position of firefighter paramedic effective today. Alex is a state-certified firefighter 2 and a licensed paramedic. He has most recently served as a paid-on-call firefighter and contract firefighter paramedic with the Riverside Fire Department. Alex, his wife Alexis, and son Benjamin reside in Riverside, and we are pleased to present Alex to the village board, and we invite him to step forward so that village clerk John Burns can administer the oath of office. John.
Okay, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Alex Barajas, having been appointed to the office firefighter paramedic in the village of LaGrange, in the county of Cook, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of LaGrange firefighter paramedic to the best of my ability. Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Can you shake hands here and then go up to the dais and shake everybody's hand?
Go back here. Welcome again. Congratulations. We also want to thank the LaGrange Police and Fire Commissioners for their service as volunteers in the village. Item number B is a discussion item, a presentation and request for village funding from the LaGrange Business Association. I will, in a moment, ask Nancy Cummings to make her presentation. I'd also like to acknowledge the president, Phil Fernero. Welcome, Phil, tonight. The LaGrange Business Association is a tremendous partner in the village. The board knows that, the management team knows that, And so we really do rely and don't take for granted the 365-day effort that the LGBA makes on our behalf. It's part of what LaGrange's momentum has come to be. It's part of what is our civic life here through many points on the calendar. And over the years, we have entered into various agreements and sponsorships with the village. And the LGBA leadership had the opportunity to make a presentation to the Community Economic Development Commission at their most recent meeting a couple of weeks ago. And as the village board sets its priorities and develops its budget, we wanted to hear also not only from our commissioners and our management team, but the LGBA, so that we were all operating from a same set of facts, and it's a chance for us to continue to learn and to work together on what all the LGBA does, and as we set our priorities in the budget, what we can and can't do in any given year. So with that, we'll hear a presentation and then have a bit of a discussion. This is not an action item for this evening. That will really be reflected on and after our budget. But can't thank Phil, you enough, and your board and the entire leadership and membership of the LGBA, and Nancy for your energy. You help to continue to put us on the map. So I'm going to turn it over to you all, and we'll rejoin you after your presentation.
All right, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to address you. It's tough to follow Ben in that cute fire hat, but I will certainly do my best to carry the load. I get very passionate when I'm talking about LaGrange and about the LGBA, so Tom, if you need to give me the hook and tell me to shut up, I am more than happy to do that. I'm here to talk to you today about the LaGrange Business Association. Just so that you know, I work full-time for the LGBA. I am not a small business owner. My full-time job is to help grow the businesses in LaGrange and to help the LGBA thrive into what they do. Our businesses are telling us now that this is the critical time for LaGrange to make a statement to the world about what it is and about the brand that it is. And what I wanted to talk to you about tonight is just a few suggestions that we have and a request for some additional funding. It does take a village to build a brand, and we are very fortunate to enjoy a great relationship with the village staff, very mutually respectful and appreciative of what I think each other does. We do share a mission of the village as well as the LGBA, and that's really just to enhance the economic vitality of LaGrange. We are all here to make sure that the businesses in LaGrange thrive and grow, and we have some ideas and suggestions about a great way to go about doing that. Some of you might not be familiar with what the LGBA is. We are a very different organization than what we were maybe 5 or 6 years ago. This is what we look like. Most people think that most of our businesses are made up of restaurants and retailers, when in fact that's really only 30% of our membership. We currently have about 260 members. That has grown from under 100 members 5 years ago. So we're in a huge growth opportunity. The bulk of our membership are service-based businesses. These are the physicians, the accountants, the attorneys, the interior decorators, the home improvement people in and around LaGrange. They make up the bulk of our membership. 30% are restaurants and retailers, and then 10% are the nonprofit organizations in our community, some of whom are some of the largest employers in the area. Our goal is really just to put the spotlight on LaGrange. The more people who know about LaGrange and the amenity and the services that we offer, the things that the business community contributes, the better it will be for all of us, for residents as well as for the business members of our association. So our goal really is just to shine a light on what LaGrange is. Our businesses tell us a couple of things about what they are and what they are not. They know their competition. They know the advantages that we have here in LaGrange. The biggest competition that our small businesses are finding is the online sales component. The digital and e-commerce platform has really changed the way people shop. It has changed the way people compare prices and think of your own spending patterns. It really is much more of a digital platform than it ever was before. In 2015, for example, the average digital shopper spent $1,700 last year just on buying online. That's up $500 from 2014. So they are making huge jumps in how much money is being spent per person online, and our stores are competing with that. The other competition that they are feeling is from shopping malls. That's no surprise. Shopping malls like Yorktown, Oakbrook, North Riverside, and even Burr Ridge make a huge impact when the shopper is looking for a brand name. The advantage that we have is we are the anti-shopping mall, because shoppers are also saying that they don't like the crowds, they don't like the traffic patterns of a mall, so that works to our advantage. Another competition LaGrange businesses feel is with area attractions, particularly on weekends when we have a lot of activities going on and the LGBA organizes a lot of special events to draw business into LaGrange. Our businesses are also competing with other attractions like Napier Settlement, the museums in Chicago, Chicago in general, again, Burr Ridge Mall. So there are a lot of things that are happening around the area that's competing for a very specific niche in how people and families want to spend their time. Families now are busier than ever before between sporting events, academics, and other things that they are involved with, and so we are competing for the time of the family and the shopper to come to LaGrange. And the other competition is really our feeder towns. Countryside is very robust. It's an attractive business community now that has more brand names as far as restaurants and entertainment venues. Western Springs is coming on board with a lot more things. Hinsdale has always been competition for us, as well as Brookfield, Westchester, and the area towns that are around us. The advantages of LaGrange, quite honestly, we can say that it's the partnership with the village. Other business associations and chambers don't enjoy the relationship that we have with the village staff here. It's very much a partnership and a collaboration, and we don't take that lightly. That is an advantage, a competitive advantage that we have here in LaGrange. Another big advantage is just support for shopping local. LaGrange residents and really people all over the United States now recognize the importance of supporting local businesses. Small Business Saturday and the effort that American Express has made as a part of that has really done a lot to heighten the interest and the awareness of the importance of shopping local. LaGrange residents understand that if they don't support small businesses, the small businesses in their neighborhood will go away. They do recognize that, but that needs to be an educational component that should be ongoing and an awareness that they need to constantly be reminded of, again, when they're making choices of where to shop. A huge advantage that LaGrange has is something that I know you all are very well aware of. It's just the LaGrange experience. It's the LaGrange moments that all of us enjoy, whether it is going with your children or grandchildren and sitting by the fountain to enjoy an ice cream cone, or walking hand in hand with someone that you care about to the LaGrange Theater, or having a glass of wine outside on the street. These are experiences that other communities around us do not have. We can offer that. That's a huge selling point. We just need to tell that story to people. Key transit and free parking is huge. I know you all recognize the importance of having two metro stops in LaGrange, as well as Pace Bus and easy access by the expressways. That really opens up the city of Chicago to us that we really need to capitalize on to draw those consumers out into LaGrange who are looking to escape the city for something different, something charming, something small town, and that is LaGrange. And then the other advantage for us, quite honestly, is the new downtown office that the LaGrange Business Association has. We have never had an office before. We moved into that space in October, and it's just the area underneath Anderson's bookshop, and it really has become, and I think will continue to become, a destination and a source of information, not just for the businesses in the area, but for the residents. I'm there all the time. People are now, see our sign outside, and they stop in and they want to know, tell me where I can get gift certificates. Do you know where I can have a kid's birthday party? So it really is becoming, and I think will continue to become, a visitor center for LaGrange. So the question is, how do we let people know how awesome LaGrange is, and how do we build a larger platform of people who know about us, who want to shop about it, who want to shop here with us, dine, play, and who want to tell their community about what we offer. Well, we've got some ideas on that. Our businesses tell us that the first thing we need to do is to build awareness. We need to get that message out about what LaGrange is and why we're different from other communities. We all know it, other people do not. The first thing that we are suggesting is to establish a PR campaign. PR is different from advertising in that in a public relations campaign, you are pitching stories to reporters, writers, editors, television producers on why they should cover LaGrange. They're covering us because we do different things. They're covering us because we have interesting events, because we do a lot of services for senior citizens, because we win awards. So there's lots of stories that you can pitch and get reporters, newspapers, television editors, or television producers to talk about you. The LaGrange app is something else that is currently on the drawing board, and this is just an app for your smartphone or your handheld device that really brings all of the information about LaGrange together in one platform. This app will tell you where to go when you want a happy hour, where to go when you want a great shopping deal, what the Park District of LaGrange is doing, what kind of amenities does the village offer, what businesses are registered in LaGrange, where can you find an orthodontist. It all comes into one app that you use on your smartphone or your handheld device, and that's a prototype that we are currently working on right now. This will allow us to really be a presence in the world of social media, in the world where people are looking digitally for their information. And that segues into my next comment about the expanded digital presence. We are now in a world of millennials. The millennials are replacing the baby boomers, and all the millennials are getting their information digitally. You can ask any newspaper who's floundering right now to find out what is the right platform to keep their subscribers happy, because it's no longer just print. Now you have to expand into a lot of digital areas, and we feel that there needs to be a certain effort on behalf of LaGrange and the businesses to expand that digital presence. Another way to build loyalty and to expand the LaGrange brand is through an advertising campaign. And this is a cohesive, attractive, smart, sharp campaign that positions LaGrange as a destination for shopping, for dining, and for spending your free time. This is a campaign that needs to be led by an organization or a firm that can help us with strategy. What are the best selling points? Who are we targeting? What are we up against? So we're looking for help in getting not only the advertising campaign, but an agency that will help answer those questions that we are not able to answer ourselves. And then the other way to build a brand is just to continue with the engaging events that we have, I think, done a great job in doing. These are just giving people reasons to come to LaGrange, to keep us on the radar, and to keep people talking about what we have and what we offer. I've given you all copies of an article that's appeared in this month's Chicago Magazine, and it's called A Field Guide to LaGrange. This was unsolicited, something that the editor picked up and wanted her reporter to cover. It is an unbelievably great testimonial about what LaGrange is and why we are a special leafy hamlet, as they are quoted as saying in the article. This was a testimonial that basically mentioned 11 of our local businesses specifically by name, 8 other of our local businesses not by name, but just by referring them to what they are, like the Salt Cave. It's a great puff piece for real estate investing, for the amenities that the library offers, for the architecture of LaGrange, and it really positions us as a place to visit for Chicago. This article is really like a great restaurant review. And the rule of thumb with Chicago Magazine is that any restaurant review has a 7-year shelf life. So if you're a restaurant that gets reviewed by the magazine, if it's a great review, people will remember that you had a great review in Chicago Magazine for 7 years. If it's not so great, they will also remember that they don't really want to try you because you didn't get that great of a review. This is a 5-star restaurant review of LaGrange that you can see right there. Their digital copy also links to a 3-minute video, which basically is a walking tour of LaGrange with this particular reporter that's a great puff piece on the village and sells us so incredibly well. And it's for this reason, because of this March issue, we feel that now is the time to really move forward and make a statement about what LaGrange is. Our suggestion is that we take that story and leverage it now with the public relations campaign, where we can go to reporters and editors and say, hey, you know what? People are taking notice of what we are and what we have. That combined with some other great accolades that we've received recently, this shows just a couple from the readers of Suburban Life newspaper, who rated us as the best downtown, the best festival in LaGrange, which is Endless Summerfest, only in its second year of operation, and a best farmers market. And this is something that the LGBA has taken over just within the last year, and already it's gotten huge accolades. So combined with the Chicago Magazine story and this type of information, this is where reporters will now start to take notice. And they're gonna say, hey, a lot of people are focusing on LaGrange. Maybe this is a story that needs to be told. We are suggesting that we now mobilize our appeal with the LaGrange app. This is an example of what the prototype looks like. You can see that it lists a lot of information coming in from all different sources on the internet. So this is all information that's out there. It's just not in any one particular place. So this brings it all together, whether it's information from the village website or the Park District, or the library, or any of the businesses in LaGrange. This reads the code from the internet and puts it all into this digital platform. We feel that it's important to expand our reach with a dynamic website. The website that the LGBA currently utilizes has really outlived its usefulness. It went up about 6 or 7 years ago, and at that time, the LGBA was really just an organization that talked to other businesses, and that's really what our website does. What we have found now is that residents and consumers are looking at our website for information on what's happening in LaGrange just in general. They're looking to our website to find out what's happening with the different events that we're sponsoring, whether it's Hometown Holiday or the Halloween Walk or the Endless Summerfest or the Carnival. They're looking at us to find out what kind of deals stores have. Again, where can they go for information to find an orthodontist? So they really are looking to the website as a source of information that they can't get anywhere else. As I said, the website is outdated. If you want to look in your free time on great websites that we think represent what we would like to be, you can look in downtown Glen Ellen, downtown Naperville, downtown Oak Park, or downtown Evanston. With the exception of Evanston, these are all communities that we compete with for that consumer dollar. We feel that it's important to have a paid advertising campaign that's really implemented now and carried on for the next several weeks, and really on a continual basis over the years, where we can go into feeder areas, into those communities that I just mentioned, and really outlying areas. We can do this with print, as I said, with digital. We need to be on that digital platform, through social media, video. Everything on video is visual. I'm sorry, everything on the internet is visual now, which includes video. There really are not videos that are adequate of LaGrange amenities, services, benefits, and businesses. So the video is something that really enhances the consumer experience. We don't have that anywhere. Billboards, we've sort of dabbled in doing some billboards on the Eisenhower Expressway to promote attendance at LaGrange Endless Summerfest. It was actually very, I thought, cost efficient. This is an area that I think we could go into, even if you go on 294 and the corridor that feeds into Rosemont and that whole entertainment mecca. We need to start taking advantage of platforms that talk to consumers who are on their way to the competition, so that we remind them that we are here, that we've got great shopping and dining. Even Metra advertising, there's a lot of creativity that can be done. For example, wrapping a Metra train. You've seen this type of thing, it's very effective. We could wrap a train that comes from Union Station, goes all the way out to Aurora, and talking about our Unwrap LaGrange for a Hometown Holiday campaign. And then radio, as you all know, as you drive in your car, radio is a key advertising media. It's getting people, as they're listening, as they're commuting, they're all plugged into their headphones. Radio is something that we've not really done before with any great effectiveness, but it's cost efficient and it's an area that we should be in. Okay, so this is just an example of some of the things that the LGBA does. We are the event people. We do all the events and sales promotions in the village. We have great pieces. They're colorful, they're creative, they are just not cohesive. There's nothing in what we're doing in the message that is being put out there that says, this is a LaGrange event. So we need to develop a recognizable identity, something that says, this is LaGrange. We need to have a look that is consistent, not only just with what we're doing in a different platform, but what we're doing from event to event. What is the commonality? Where is the look, the brand that says LaGrange? We need help in creating an unmistakable identity. As I said, we do a lot of events, we do a lot of sales promotions, but nothing that we do is saying this is who we are. And we need help. We need professionals who can help us strategize and determine the best course of action on what we look like graphically. We need to have something that complements our brand. Again, these are all great events. They're all great pieces separately, but together they are not speaking the same language. We are not giving out a message. We're not giving out our brand. Okay, so our suggestion is to use our signature events to position LaGrange as a destination. These are all the events that everyone knows and loves. We've been doing them for many, many years. They're successful. The residents love them. The businesses like them. They have different, I think, sales capacity for selling our businesses. Our idea or our thought is it gets people into the village, whether they're spending that night or spending in the future. It's familiarizing them with what we offer. So we want to take these signature events and really capitalize them, talk to that Chicago consumer, the feeder town consumer, and bring them into our village to promote these events. But we also want to create some new reasons to visit. These are just some of the things that the LGBA has launched really in the last 4 years that is doing a lot to draw business, draw additional traffic into LaGrange. One is the farmers market. As I said, we took this over a year ago, and at that time it had 12 vendors. Last year, in our first year of operation, we grew it to 22 vendors. We're looking to expand to 30. Studies across the country of farmers markets show that 40% of the people who shop at a farmers market have an additional spend pattern in the businesses that surround that market. So this is a lucrative opportunity for LaGrange to expand and to capitalize. The Family Wellness Expo is something that we've done in October. We're looking to do it again in November. This is bringing all of the wellness businesses in LaGrange, which actually has been a huge growth opportunity for the LGBA. The health and wellness, the physicians, the chiropractors, to bring them together in one trade show, if you will. And it's talking about the different wellness amenities that are available here for people to take advantage of. Endless Summerfest, I'm sure you're all familiar with that, has grown from maybe 8,000 to 10,000 people in year 1 to 15,000 people in year 2. We're looking to expand that again in the first week in August. And Santa Stroll is something that we've done in December, partnering our nonprofit members with some of our restaurant members to encourage people to work with those nonprofits and drive business into the restaurants on a slow afternoon in December. There's other opportunities that are too premature to comment on, but we've got some great ideas coming down the pike. A big priority for us is sales promotions. It's what can we do with our businesses that are going to drive revenue. And I think we've done a great job in working with them in determining with our retailers what is important. We just came off of a restaurant nonprofit partnership called LaGrange Gives. This was a social media driven campaign in February, the slowest restaurant month of the year, taking advantage of some of our active and dynamic nonprofit members who have a very loyal and engaged audience. So we utilize them to drive business, to push business into our restaurants in February to generate additional traffic, where 15% then of the food sales attributed to that nonprofit would be rebated back to the nonprofit. So we're still tallying results on that, but our restaurants have told us that it was a very effective promotion for them. Girlfriend's Getaway is a sales promotion geared to women specifically. This will be held April 21st on a Thursday, again, to drive retail traffic on a slow Thursday in the spring and get them to travel to all pockets of LaGrange. This is a passport promotion where you have to have your passport signed in order to be eligible to win a grand prize. The Just Desserts Tour is something that I'm very excited about. This is something that we've just developed in June and July, kind of piggybacking on some very successful architectural tours that our very own John Burns has launched with the LaGrange Historical Society. The idea is to sort of piggyback some of our confectionaries and bakeries, have a guided tour where a tour guide would point out points of interest, trivia on LaGrange, interesting architectural points as they tour the different bakeries and sweet stops in LaGrange and take advantage of sampling and things of that nature. So we're planning 6 consecutive Saturdays in June and July. And again, gearing it where people from outside of LaGrange who might not be familiar would come to our village and take advantage of those walks and see what we have to offer. The sidewalk sale is something we do every year. We now piggyback on Horton's tent sale to make it bigger and better. As I mentioned, Small Business Saturday is a huge promotional effort for us, and people have really embraced this idea of shopping and supporting local business on the first Saturday after Thanksgiving. Our job is to push that interest throughout the holiday shopping season, which is what we've done with the Unwrap LaGrange Holiday Shoppers Rewards Program. Another thing that we feel is important for the LGBA and for our businesses is to retain our existing businesses, to give them the tools that they need to be successful and to have them build trust in what we're capable of. So we do really a whole calendar of events for networking, for training seminars. This is an example of one that was held a few months ago in the library on social media. Our businesses tell us we need more information on key things, on marketing, on social media. It might be on appealing to millennials. It might be on appealing to seniors and what benefits they can offer. So we give them the training opportunities to learn more about how they can enhance their business, their marketing, and just give them the tools that they need. We do a lot of lunch and learns, which are just small noontime seminars where they can come in and learn about points of interest and things that are critical to them. And we do a great job, I think, of strategic partnerships where we match our one small business with another, just like we did with LaGrange Gives, where we have the synergy that takes place when businesses work together. So the LGBA is the conduit that allows our businesses to do that. And the other really is just small business advocacy. It's talking to you folks. It's talking to other organizations that are important to our members to make sure that they're kept up to date on issues that are key. And so, in closing, my portion is if you build it, they will come. We have a story to tell. It's our job to tell the story. The time is right. We've got the talent pool. We've got the creativity. We are looking for some funding, and this is where my better half comes in.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for hearing us out. And we actually chatted earlier tonight, earlier this week to say, hey, should we cut it down a little bit? But we decided no. You know, I know you guys you have a lot to go through business-wise, but it's important that you understand exactly what we do. And it's unbelievable, even in the year and a half or the 1 year that I've been the president, it seems like there's this huge rush of momentum coming throughout our organization and throughout the community. Some of the great things that are happening in the nonprofit, and the profit businesses, and all these partnerships. We've talked about it a million times, and the mayor always talks about the partnership here, but it's phenomenal. I mean, I absolutely love my community here more than I lived in a community in Elmhurst for years and years, but I've never had this feeling of community before I came here. And a large part of it is that partnership and just the drive that all the people and the volunteers. Obviously, you volunteer a ton of your time. At times I can't even believe, that I'm a lawyer because I'm spending so much time on this organization, which is great because guess what? All my contacts and networking and love of the community really comes in and leads us into some strong things. So I want to thank everybody also. I mean, the mayor showed up at our meeting. We've had our village manager show up at an LGBA meeting. Trustee Arnett was here, and obviously Angela is always at the meetings for us to come and see what we're doing. I actually challenged the CEDC to come to a meeting, and sure enough, Jim Arnold came at the last meeting, and I think he kind of liked it. But literally, we now have, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a meeting, our whole dynamic has changed in the last year and a half, 2 years, and we have, I think, average between, 50 and 70 people from our community come 8 o'clock at Palmer's to have some, have some networking time, and then we go over to the business of the LGBA and the business of LaGrange. So those are the things that we're trying to capitalize on momentum here. And the reason we have so much momentum is because the LGBA is growing, our membership's growing. We've brought a lot of the key components and key people that have sort of drifted in the last couple years. Joan Smothers is running the non-for-profit. We've got Ryan Wilmanson, who is the president of the organization, now running membership. In a month and a half or 2 months he's been doing it, he's already raised 10 new members. We've got a new organization where we introduce new members to come back in. You typically, when someone comes to a meeting, guess what? They join that meeting because they're so excited by the positive energy that we see throughout that meeting. So I think before long we'll be 300 members and then grow after that. The other thing is the Chicago Magazine brings great momentum. The Suburban Life that was showed earlier brings momentum. And then obviously the great amount of volunteerism. I like to talk about Endless Summer a lot because one of the great partnerships we have now outside the village is with the Legacy Guild or the Leaders Shop, where they come and they volunteer the whole weekend. They volunteer, serve beer, collect tickets, whatever it may be, and they get their message out. But as a result of that, someone complained. The only complaint I had last year at Endless Summer was there was too many volunteers. We didn't have enough to do. And that was pretty cool. So I said, that means we need more members. We want to be bored. We want to enjoy ourselves. So getting that beyond, I want to keep it short because we've kept you for a long period of time. There's 2 steps that we're looking for. First and foremost is something that's an immediate need. It's something that we've been talking about. This conversation is not a new one. We've been sort of having limited discussions. The president and I, Angela and Patrick Benjamin, sort of talked through some of these things over probably since last September of 2015. And it's to gain information and to make us relevant on social media. And Nancy's talked about it. We have the ideas, as you can see. She's wonderful with creativity. She comes up with all this stuff. But we need dollars to go ahead and open and launch this app. And everybody's asking for this app. Now that every time we talk about it, it's expensive to do an app. It's expensive to maintain an app. And then the website we have does not do us justice. It really doesn't. The energy is, I feel angry when I go on our website. I want to feel positive, and I want to have that energy go forward through the website. And it really, if we're able to capitalize on a new website, new app, I think our businesses will be improved greatly. And that's, we talk all the time to our businesses about building a business, and social media is incredible for my business. It's incredible for the people that are in this town that use it. And all across the nation, when people use it, it's important. So I said, if we're telling our business to drive and become relevant on social media, how can I say that if we're not ourselves in the LGBA relevant? So we'd like to take this opportunity to show you that website when it comes through, our potential, and perhaps even the village can capitalize. I've already talked to the individual website designer because we've interviewed probably 4 or 5 to see if they can do something similar for the village of LaGrange if they so choose to do that. But our goal is not to put a burden on the village. Our goal is to lead the charge. So we're asking you for financing to fund this, but it's our job to make sure that is fully launched and fully funded with tons and tons of social media that'll be helpful for the village, because that's why we're here. So we're asking a limited part, and that's step 1, okay? Step 2 is sort of this continuing. We were when I was talking to village manager Bob Polipshin the first time we met, and he sat down and we were explaining what the LGBA does. Suddenly we were talking about, maybe we'll take a little time, think about this branding concept. Then wham, Chicago Magazine comes out, and we said, hey, we got to capitalize on this. He drove us in that direction. We called the same people that does the advertising for, Unwrap LaGrange, and all of a sudden we're talking about branding, and we were sort of conceptualizing this, but now it's in front of us. So as sort of a longer-term plan, not long into the future, we'd like to continue to figure out the branding. And what was pointed and interesting to me was when we were at the CEDC meeting, we sat down and we looked at the fact that you're doing the entryway signage or considering the entryway signage, and you're trying to bring that out in 2016. What a better opportunity to brand the signage along with the website, along with whatever we're going to brand. The Grange has been going on for a little while. Why not sort of conceptualize and make that all one? Why not take this opportunity? And again, we are willing to take the lead. Obviously, that's a longer-term project, and that's not just the LGBA. That's a joint effort between the village, CEDC, and whoever else the village believes. Obviously, the request we're making is a monetary one, so you would have control over that. But we want to be able to give ideas and work in harmony with the village and the CEDC and just globally try to get this done. So that's sort of our plan, and I think it's a good one. I mean, we can't help but improve our situation with such things. So I think it's a no-brainer in terms of getting involved with each other. So again, I didn't want to take any more of the time than necessary, but hopefully that gives you the direction. Hopefully I've answered some of the questions that are in your mind, but if not, we're here to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Phil, for the many things you do in LaGrange. Trustees, we're going to have a discussion period here, so Nancy and Phil, don't go too far. I think as we transition to trustee questions or discussions, we want to make sure we look at something that is comprehensive. If we're looking at servers and capacity at our own end, how does that mesh with opportunities at your end? We want to look at something that's appropriately integrated, affordable. Our decisions aren't necessarily solely based on the merits. You've got a lot of merit. Some of it is the balancing act that we're placing on our own budget, and so the timing for this discussion is good. And lastly, I'll say that the residents of LaGrange and the LGBA were supportive of the referendum, which did add revenues for economic development, among many other things. We've seen good traction on that as we have continued to maximize our parking situation here in partnership with the LGBA and other businesses. So, trustees, as we think and have this discussion, please, in the interim, send emails or funnel information to either me or Bob as we lean into our April 11th budget. And Bob, you'll be the kind of the coordinator, collaborator, bring whoever from your team together, and eventually we're going to be kind of recommending back to each other a direction that makes sense. And again, the last thing I'll say is be patient with us, because we do have a schedule and a budget, and whereas there is some sense of immediacy here, which is certainly understandable, we've got a process by which we digest and analyze our full budget, but that is coming, and it's a springtime exercise. So with that, trustees, I'll open it up to you for comment or questions, and again, we'll be discussing this in the context at our budget meeting coming up as well. Questions or comments? You guys are shy. Trustee Kugler.
Yeah, just to start out, thanks for coming. I think the whole board really appreciates all the efforts that the LGBA does, and I think we look forward to continuing to work with you and achieving a lot of the goals. Two things. One is, like the issue that always seems to come up is when we're asking, what is economic development? What are we trying to push as far as economic development? Is it the largest sales tax generator, or is it a boutique that's going to draw people in, or where should it be? And we just talk about it, and we have a hard time figuring out what it is. And I noticed on your statistics, 60% of the members aren't the restaurant and retail, but it almost seems that when we start the advertising and things like that, we're trying to bring in people for the restaurants and the shops. And so where do we go? Are we doing enough for the 60%? Are we doing enough for the service business? Where should the focus be? And we just, again, I don't know that we've ever figured that out. That's one of the things the LaGrange app, I suppose, could really target service businesses and things of that nature, and maybe that's an area to go. I said two things. The last one being the valet parking. That's something that we did this year. It's kind of a trial run, and you know, how does it work? How does the LGBA as a group like it? You know, specifically, you know, is it in the right locations? How should it be funded in the future? If we're looking to do something over here, should we cut down on the valet parking? Should that be taken over by the businesses that actually use the valet? And what's the thought process kind of moving forward? You know, that's not something that we see a lot of times referenced as the LaGrange community, the village board's contribution to the LGBA, but it's, you know, $50,000 that was spent. And so how does that play into the mix, I guess, is my comments. But again, thanks.
Please, yeah, if you could go to the microphone so we can all.
So for the first part is, yeah, we have more service. It's sort of been a sort of a shift, but it actually is a good shift because the main reason is that the service businesses have a little bit more flexibility in their schedules. So the service businesses have been growing rapidly through this education, you know, anything related to education, and it's amazing. The board is mostly service, and which is good. We're more than satisfied with the return that we get. And as it relates to the retail, the reason we drive so much interest into the retail is because that's what our community needs. I mean, why do you think our values of our properties are going up consistently? Why did it, you know, other communities that surround us are still sort of stagnated? It's because we dive so much attention, because if we have vacant storefronts, that's no good for anyone. I mean, I talk to realtors all the time, and one of the biggest trend is the city of Chicago, you know, young people coming in with families into the area, and then it's just, and obviously with the new development here, we're driving people into here. So we have to get those restaurants up. But absolutely, I mean, we're well balanced. So that's not, it's very, very good, and I think that hopefully answers that first question. As it relates to the valet, fantastic. You know, I think the best, someone said, I can't remember who, says there's not a lot of complaints. So that's the first thing that makes me believe that it's doing really well. And it may not be sustainable just by the village at some point in time. And we've talked about that. I think I had a short conversation with a couple restaurant owners, and perhaps that gets built in somewhere along with the business license or the liquor license, or so that it's sort of a sliding scale that's spread out amongst everybody. But sure, I mean, the sales tax, I mean, we had an issue with infrastructure, and you're correct, and that's why you did the bond. That's why you did the sales tax. That's why we supported it. So hopefully that answers that part of it. Did you have anything else? Okay.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, Trustee Kukler.
I'll go. Phil, what are your members saying about the retail mix? What are we missing?
Actually, that's probably a good Nancy question. Do you have any idea? Generally, they like, obviously we have a huge, what do we have, 45 or 46 restaurants now. So, I mean, they like it. And I think, with the addition of Anderson's, I mean, I don't see anything that's really missing at this point. No one's complaining about not having something. Sometimes people will say something, we have too many of one retail, but we won't mention. But anyway, that's sort of the thing. But it's sort of been pretty good. I mean, I think the mix is nice. Do you agree? Yeah.
Okay.
Do you? Yeah.
Obviously, the plan would have a great effect on the CDB. What about for the West End and South, and how would this enhance the other parts of the village and our footprint there?
Well, the branding part is good. I mean, we were so excited to hear at the CDC. I didn't even know that was coming, that you guys were going to be moving forward with that, and you already had drawings of the signage, and that was fantastic. So it was the South and the West End, and we've been talking about that, is to try to draw that in so people know where we start and where we stop. So that's the first part of it. The social media branding gives an opportunity for every retailer and every service business to really capitalize. So it's not just, so if there's more relevance to the West End, or the more relevance to the South End, that's where they benefit. So you got to remember, I mean, a lot of our businesses on the West End, everyone complains a little bit about the West End not having relevance, but Kathy Dirks is probably the biggest contributor of time in the LGBA towards that. that West End Art Festival, the First National Bank of LaGrange drives that. Joan Smothers is now, over there, so she drives some business, and we drive as much stuff. I have all my meetings at Now Serving, so I think it's gaining a little traction now, but I think this helps everybody. It's not going to be exclusively just to the Central Business District.
Thank you, Trustee Langen. Trustee Arnett.
I'm so excited to see you guys here. Thank you so much for coming down. And, I can say the improvements that I have seen in the organization, I think since 2015, since Nancy, you were able to come on full time, have really been tremendous. I really do want to take a minute and just thank you for all that you have invested so far. Phil, I know you've put an awful lot of time into it as well. And I think that I recognize a lot of the collaborative efforts that you guys have started. I see that with the different businesses that in the past really did not have that kind of a networked relationship. And I do understand part of the question about the service industry, because I was always surprised at the number of service providers that were in that. I think having an app would actually start to support and target them, though. I think having an app that I can go on and I can set appointments and I can make purchases, I'm thinking, and that I can understand what the opportunities are for, what do we have, 15 chiropractors in town? At least to be able to, compare and see who's going to work best for me as opposed to my child with a sports industry or sports injury would be, I think, a really helpful tool to help drive, I think, additional sales for them or additional clients. But I had a couple of specific questions, and I think the first one relates to the focus on those existing businesses and also attracting new businesses. And if you have a specific plan for reaching out and attracting new businesses, or if we believe that, by putting together a campaign that product would do it. And then the second part is just a little bit more of a detailed budget analysis of how those dollars would be spent. And I'm wondering if that might be something on the back that we would get later.
Do you want to share about the first part?
To your first question about new businesses, existing businesses, and how we satisfy their needs, the LGBA is now structured where we have a new member orientation. In fact, one is scheduled tomorrow. It's every other month, and any new member now comes in, they come to our office, and we actually have a structured orientation. We have 12 attendees tomorrow of new businesses. And in that, I go through a fabulous PowerPoint on what the LGBA is, how we can help them, how they can strategically position themselves with other businesses, and we customize a mini marketing plan for them on how they can jump in with both feet. So we're very much into collaboration, into strategic partnerships, and we feel that we now have the opportunity to talk to them individually, develop a mini marketing plan for them so that when a new member comes in, they're not just lost. What we were finding out is that businesses would come in, they wouldn't really know each other, they don't know how to jump into an existing organization that is well established with a lot of businesses who know each other quite well. So now we do a little bit of hand-holding, and we kind of show them the ropes. We have a mentoring program for new businesses so we can partner them up with an existing business. So we really feel that we've addressed that particular thing as well. And then just as Phil was commenting on, we really are very strong in the educational component where we can address specific business needs. The LGBA is now structured where we have very, very different committees. We have a nonprofit committee that specifically gets together to talk about what the LGB can do to meet the needs of the nonprofits, how they can work together, what kind of partnerships they can develop, how they can partner up with other existing businesses in the LGBA to satisfy those needs. We have the same thing with the restaurant committee, with the retail committee, and then with the service-based businesses with a lot of networking and things that we do of that nature. So we really do a lot as far as embracing a new business that's coming on board from the part where we just do the ribbon cutting, and then we move them further along. As Phil was saying, Ryan Williamson, a former president of the LGBA, is chairing that particular committee. He's very familiar with it. He reaches out to them on multiple levels and multiple occasions. We kind of think of ourselves now as a country club. I'm personally not a member of a country club, but if I was, I have been told that they do a great job of indoctrinating new members into what is being offered, and to make sure that that new member is embraced by the existing community. So we're kind of making efforts to do that.
So can I ask a quick follow-up to that then? So to that end, do you also reach out to the other business associations that are around us locally and maybe just regionally to
We
see
do,
if there are additional businesses that we can actually move to town?
We do reach out. In fact, we've just started doing really quarterly meetings with the area business associations and chambers. Our goal really is to find out, are there economies of scale? Can we get volume discounts if we rent tents, if we rent trolleys? All of the communities around us kind of do a lot of the same types of activities, and so can we get a better price if we're saying, you know, we want 18 tents for these 6 activities that are taking place in these 6 communities. So there really is a lot, again, more collaboration amongst and between the business associations and communities in our area. Does that answer your question? Sort of.
Thank you, Trustee Arnett. Other questions? Other
Should-
comments this way?
Should
Go
that
ahead.
second part of
Please.
the question. So, yeah, generally for this step one, it's basically towards the website, the initial maintenance of the website, you know, driving. It's all hard cost stuff that we need to expand in the app. I mean, we can obviously explain that in detail later, but that's generally where it goes. That first year is sort of just a lot of attention. You know, we're not asking for anything other than that.
Great. And just to verify, the public packet here has the letter. We're still talking about the one-year capital expense at approximately $20,000, and then secondarily here the yearly support of $30,000.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Okay. All right. Other questions, trustees, comments? Trustee McCarty?
Thank you, President Livingston. Just a couple of quick ideas. One, I think it's very enlightening, the concept of the service organizations, and it's really nice to hear that you've reached out and captured some of that, because each of those visits to the doctor or the dentist or something, a lawyer, does generate business to the downtown and to the other parts of the village. So even though they may not be directly generating sales tax, it does generate buzz for LaGrange, and I think that's great. That's a great idea. Obviously, in this era of tight budgets and concerns about overall spending and priorities, what would be your priorities if we can't fund the total amount? How would you prioritize what you think is most important?
As it relates to this initial step one, I mean, that's it. The priority is the priority is the website. You know, we're gonna do it one way or the other. We want to do it really, really well. So that's really important to us. It's important to the village. I'm very confident of that as we looked at our competition. I mean, Evanston just got that killer number 10 rating in all the municipalities in Illinois, right? Is that what it was, or a country? Nationwide, yeah. We want to get there, and part of the reason is you look at it, I mean, it's a great town, but they don't have anything on us, but they do have a better website, and they do have a better, social media push. So that's where I think we can add value instantaneously. That app, I don't know, none of the kids, and now a lot of the adults are not seen without their phone and working on those apps, and that's critical. So I get it. I mean, I understand where you're at, and we appreciate all the funding you do provide to us, but I mean, this is a joint venture here, and this is not just to help the LGBA, this is to help the village, in total. I mean, it's not like we're using the money in any other way. It's for this, so. But I get it. I mean, I know budgets, and you guys are very, very careful with the budget. I know that, so.
And Trustee Arnett kind of asked this question, but or is looking for that more detail. But just for a website, what are you currently budgeting for that website?
Yeah, I think our budget called for, I think, what was it, 15? I think the budget was for 15,000, and that's built in. The initial startup cost, we are getting some assistance from the guy that's drafting the app. He did a nice job of volunteering some of the time, but that's probably going to cost us somewhere around the $5,000. So that's sort of where we came up with this. We're going to try to get it, and there are economies of scale too. So I mean, I know you guys aren't planning for this, but the LaGrange website, I mean, I already started beating up the website guy and said, hey, what if LaGrange wanted to pop a website up that similar look, similar style? He says, yeah, he'd work with us on that too, so that's a possibility. It's not the dollar amount, it's just that we get these things up and running. And the reason why we want it now is because we want to promote all these events as best as we can, because we've got a huge amount of events. We've added 5, I think, in the last year and a half. So I mean, we keep on adding, and we added a part-time person too to help Nancy. So a lot more expenses, but a lot more income to offset the expenses, and our members are happy. So,
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Trustee McCarty. I'm going to close up comments unless anybody else has any questions at this point. Over the next few weeks here, stay close, because we might convene sort of a meeting to further refine what we're talking about or ask follow-up questions. And again, trustees do the same, and we'll electronically communicate and share that information as we focus in on this priority and others. Your presentation was great. We appreciate the deeper look and the time you took to do that. It really helps us. We're all moving in many different directions each year in the village, so it's very appropriate that we take time like this to stop and really hear the dimensions of what you're working on, and as we consider our own priorities. So thank you very much, as always, and we'll be back as we progress here.
thank you so much.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Clerk, I would ask you to read the items on our omnibus business agenda this evening.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Matters on the omnibus agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote, because they have already been fully considered by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the omnibus agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, contract, group health and life insurance renewal. Item B, ordinances, Opus Development Special Service Areas for Ogden Avenue, LaGrange Road Sidewalk, and Retail Parcel Interim Landscaping. Item C, Professional Services Agreement, Executive Recruitment Services, Director of Community Development. Item D, Material Purchase, Public Works, Rock Salt. Item E, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, February 22nd, 2016. Item F, consolidated voucher 160314.
Thank you, John, and we have no items under current business this evening. Item number 3 on our agenda is public comments regarding matters that are listed on the agenda this evening. All right. Seeing none, item 4, omnibus agenda, consideration and vote.
I move for approval of the omnibus agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Kotinik.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Langen.
Aye.
And with that, the matter passes. We advance to item number 6, the manager's report. Item A, village regulation of small cell sites. Bob Polipshin.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item under the manager's report this evening, and that has to do with village regulations on small cell sites. On January 25th, the village board was presented with an initial set of proposed regulations governing small cell sites. After a discussion, members of the village board provided comments and ideas concerning the draft code provisions. Staff has considered those comments and has returned with revisions to the proposed regulations. And so I'm going to ask Village Attorney Mark Birkeland to provide us with a summary of those changes, and then turn it back over to you, Mr. President, for further board discussion and consensus direction if that's appropriate.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you, Tom. At the January 25th meeting, we had a good discussion. We went through all the background information, and I think that some of the comments that were made by the board, some of the questions that were asked were incisive and thoughtful. And we went back and did some changing, really more in the way of adding certain things that were responsive to the suggestions that you made. First, the easiest thing is the lease itself only underwent technical changes. You see it in your packet. It has not changed substantively from what you saw before. As far as the Code of Ordinance provisions, we tinkered a little bit with the process, just based on some of the comments that we heard, but substantively it remains the same. The big change, and what we'd like to bring before you this evening for your consideration, is the addition of a new section to the Code of Ordinances that sets forth general standards for small cells and for small cell facilities. There are a dozen new provisions, and I'll walk through them very quickly. These in toto do respond to, I think, each of the suggestions and questions that you had at the last meeting where this was discussed. The first one is, some of these are very routine. The first one is routine, and that is that small cells would be limited to one per pole or one per wall. There was a comment about clustering and how the intrusive nature of a small cell facility would expand in the event of clustering. The second is the minimum spacing of 300 feet between small cells. That responds to the other form of clustering, which is having a number of small cells, although on separate poles, concentrated in a narrow area. Because Grange is largely residential in nature, having 2 or 3 of these within a block area would seem to be too intrusive, and I would add unnecessary. The third is the minimum height above grade for the lowest level mounting of equipment. We set at 10 feet. That's a couple of feet higher than many are installed at the 8-foot level, but because the standard height of poles and the size of these cabinets, we believe a minimum of 10 feet is certainly workable for the wireless carriers. And moving it a little higher off of the ground, if it's not going to be on the ground itself, we thought was useful. Number 4, the maximum height above the pole of 3 feet. This is probably one of the goofiest things that happens from time to time, where if a pole is a little bit short, wireless carriers will jury rig posts, connect them to the side of the pole and run them up above the pole. That is really ugly. It catches your eye and you wonder why it had to be that way. And there is no reason for that. If it doesn't work there, then replace the pole or move it someplace else. And so we added that in. It's really an aesthetic thing more than anything else. Number 6, the maximum size for any small cell antenna of 4 square feet. This, again, has to do with the compact nature and visual impacts of small cells. We have, this number is not etched in concrete right now, but it is big enough to handle all standard small cell installations as far as we know at this time. And of course, as you know, as technology for these devices is refined, typically they get smaller in size. Number 7, the maximum size for any other element than the antenna, also set for now at 4 feet in any dimension. Number 8, a requirement that all components of the small cell must be uniform in color. That color must be consistent with or blend into the pole or facility to which it's attached. I think this is a direct response to concerns raised by more than one member of the board related to how these overall will be treated aesthetically. Number 9, a prohibition on guy wires or other support mechanisms. This is just a fail-safe issue. We have not seen small cells being installed like this, but just like fences on some yards, somehow they turn out not the way you want them to be unless you specifically regulate them. Number 10, a prohibition on marking, sign stickers, and other applications. This too was a concern raised by at least 2 members of the board. We don't want anything in the way of advertisement or other visual clutter on these cells. It's not necessary. Of course, there can be a number, an identification number by the wireless carrier or the company that's running the small cell, but nothing beyond that. Number 11, a requirement that small cell be concealed if directed by the village, but only if there is good cause for concealment. I have to tell you that this underwent some measure of discussion at the staff level. Concealment is a sort of a budding undertaking. Now, companies that have done concealment for macro cells have been at that business for a long time. We've all seen the silly pictures of tall trees, artificial palm trees that have cells tucked in them. I offered one for tonight's packet, but it was rejected at the staff level. Anyway, concealment is not, I think, on a pole, the first avenue of defense of good aesthetics. The first avenue of defense are the things that we already wrote about: the compact nature, how it's installed, the use of shielding to manage the cabling and electrical wiring on the cell, consistency of color, the lack of intrusive decals or markings on the poles. There may come a time when a small cell is optimally located in a place other than a utility pole or a village street light standard. And in that case, some form of concealment may be appropriate. And so what we wanted to do is have it under the village's control and at the discretion of the village. And then finally, the last one is a requirement that an abandoned small cell must be promptly removed. That standard is in the village's model lease, but we recognize the possibility that there will be small cells. We recognize the reality that there will be small cells installed on facilities other than village-owned facilities, and we want to make certain that none of these are in effect abandoned in place because a wireless carrier or its host isn't getting around to getting it removed. So the village staff at all levels and I are ready to answer any questions that you have about this.
Great, Mark, thank you very much, and Bob as well, and the whole team. Board, you had a great input and discussion at the last meeting we discussed this in January. I open up the floor for further comment and question. This is a discussion item this evening, but after this you'll see it as an action item at an upcoming, we'll call it spring meeting, depending on our agenda management. So opening it up to you all for further questions or comment. Trustee McCarty.
Thanks, and thanks to the staff on this. It looks like they've done a really nice job of capturing a lot of the items we talked about and dealing with this ongoing changes to our urban landscape. One thing I didn't see in here, and I'm not sure exactly the technical aspects of it, can we require that any wires serving these come from underground, or do they not require any wires?
They will require either fiber optic cabling or other wires. These small cells, what's called the backhaul, they need to communicate to the larger network. And our anticipation is all of that wiring will be underground.
Do we tell them that, though?
Yes.
Okay.
We will. It'll be part of their plans and specifications.
Okay.
Oh, and electrical power as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Good. And then the other one, I know we talked about it, and there was not, I don't think there was a consensus on the board, or probably obviously not from them, but I still think we should have a greater control that some of these, the control equipment is located on the ground. I think in most cases it's much less intrusive. And I'd open that up for other discussion too.
Before anyone else speaks on that, that's my oversight. We have written a ground-mounted, or ground-located equipment provision that I didn't summarize in my standard, but in subsection G of the new section, it reads, and it's worth reading, I think, no cabinetry or other element of a small cell may be located on the ground except with the prior written consent of the village. Ground located equipment is not favored and will not be permitted unless there is no reasonable alternative to mount the cell on a pole building or other elevated structure. Opening the door for it under the right circumstances, but indicating that the carrier cannot opt out.
I think that's backwards. I think it needs
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
on the
the-
ground
it's
first choice, and then,
Yeah, I understand that. And you mentioned that at the last one, there was no consensus. There was no other voice for that. We can write it any way you want to write it. The nightmare that we have is the AT&T Xfinity boxes and the difficulty that they cause. The small cell equipment would be smaller, but it would also likely be in a parkway position and subject to vandalism, to graffiti, to lack of proper maintenance. However, it is a decision to be made.
Yeah,
at your-
I don't think we had consensus on that one. I think that might have been
I-
your perspective, but
well,
so taken.
my feeling is, as most underground telephone equipment now is located, you know, the service ports, all those things are located on the ground in the parkway, and it's expanding. And I think that's just less intrusive than a box in the sky. I think at least it should be a first option with the right of us to override and require it on the pole, would be my way of writing it. First option is on the ground, and then the staff can override that if it should be more appropriately located.
Okay.
I like that.
All right,
I like that.
some consensus here. Great. Other questions, Trustee McCarty? Mark, questions? Mark Brooklyn, other questions back for Dave on that, or?
No, if we come away from the meeting with some consensus direction on that,
Okay.
that would be great.
That would be helpful to you. All right, Trustee Kukler?
Yes, I guess Trustee McCarty being the architect, I probably would defer to him on what's the best and what's the least obtrusive. So if that makes sense in his professional opinion, I'm happy to support that. Do these small cells just go to one carrier? That's my understanding?
Yes, the current technology with this type of installation, there are several different types of small cell technology. The technology that all of the major carriers are using are single carrier cells.
My concern with that, it has to do with the anti-clustering regulations. If we're to take at least the one vendor at their word, which is they want to buy the train stations, I assume the other carriers are going to want to buy the train stations also, and I'm not sure if we shouldn't allow having them all buy the train station. So I don't know actually how the clustering feet and all work in, how many poles there are, how it would work out, but if we're going to allow one cell provider in, I think we should allow them all in if that's what they want.
I think that's a very good point. All of the cell providers, wireless carriers, are going to want to be in those locations. The village has a graphic representation of all utility poles throughout the village. We've done a relatively high-level inventory of existing village facilities and existing utility poles throughout the village. And our general sense is that we can accommodate at least all of the 4 or 5 or 6 major carriers everywhere they want to go, including the Hillgrove Burlington Railroad Corridor, without that clustering issue. And the code will be written so that the final decision maker at the staff level can vary that. You're welcome.
Can I
Thank you,
ask a
Trustee
quick,
Kukler. Thank you, Mark. Trustee Arnett?
I have a quick one. So, I'm really impressed. I'm very impressed with the antenna mounting systems and the way that those are looking, right, in our little packet. But the cabinets and the shrouds, I guess, are what the concern is right? And so how does that look when we get multiple carriers? Well, they'll each need their own cabinet, right?
I'm not certain how many carriers use different manufacturers for their component manufacturing, vendors for their manufacturing. I do know there are more than one. And so not every cabinet will be the same size and shape for T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, and others. They will vary. However, with the control of the overall maximum size, the color, and the lack of other markings, the differences between the two will be, in our senses, will be minimized.
And just for clarification, because I don't recall from the earlier conversation, the integrated poles then, that would be a combination of both that antenna function as well as the cabinet?
I'm sorry, could you say your question again? I'm sorry, I just missed the question.
Would we be able to forego the radio cabinet and shroud if we use the integrated pole? Is that one way that we get it in the air? Or is it actually looking like a bat box on a pole if we get it in the air? I mean,
The poles that you see that are used for concealment, it's a little bit misleading. In order to put an antenna actually inside of a pole, the pole has to be as 17 inches or bigger in diameter. It's really big. And so when the focus in most municipalities rests on utility poles, and where the antenna facility itself is 30 feet or so in the air, the focus is on making that shrouded antenna as least obtrusive as possible. The notion of including of concealing it within a pole is for very specialized location, not for general deployment purposes.
so like on the second page where it's the integrated and we've got the 17-inch, right, with the double antique light fixture on either side. That's a pole that's a 17-inch diameter, I'm imagining, that has the integrated antenna, right? But and it also offers the route
the
or
pole,
the controls on the bottom of the pole.
yeah, if these smooth pole, 16-inch smooth poles are examples. That's an inch smaller than what I was talking about, where the
One more
cabinetry.
page over, so it's the 17-inch. One more, I think.
Yes, that 17-inch one,
Looking
you
at
can
the
see
same.
how big that is, and the antenna's on the top, and all the
Yeah, 6A11.
equipment is in the bottom.
Page 6A11, she's
Oh.
talking.
Yes, yes. The lower half of that pole includes all of what would otherwise be an externally mounted cabinet,
Like
and
on
then
a
the
ground
antenna is
cabinet.
shrouded on the top.
Right, and then okay.
And the point of that is that in a facility like that, what you would expect is that this particular municipality has streetlight standards that look like that, that are being replaced so that there's a uniformity throughout the village, or city, and here along a river or lakefront. In LaGrange, what we have are a mixture of ComEd and AT&T utility poles and village poles, and then some amount of Cobra head street lighting poles. And so a pole like this is, or the 12-inch one all the way to the left there, it would be for a particular single location,
For a
not
singular
for a
lo-
series of installations.
And then that's my other kind of question. I'm just not very clear. How many poles are we talking about in a town, that's 2 miles by 2.5 miles?
We don't know. We have created
that I
an
wouldn't want
application
LaGrange to be bigger,
process
but-
that allows us to find that out before approvals are made of small cells, because when a carrier comes in addition to asking for whatever it wants now, we require them to give us an inventory and a build-out plan. Small cells are generally powered to cover between 1 to 1.5 up to 2 kilometers. So you don't need very many of, a single carrier doesn't need very many of them, but we do know from correspondence from some residents and from other data that we've found that there are spots in the village that need better coverage. We talked last time about the fact that generally speaking, there is coverage, but there are dead spots. And so say a typical wireless carrier might want anywhere from 3 to 5 of these in the village because, like you say, the limited geographic size of the village, and you multiply that by 5 or 6 over the coming 6 years or whatever that might be. I'm making that up. Then you're talking about the possibility of 25 to 40 of these altogether. Ultimately, perhaps, I would say that it's unlikely there would be 40, but each of the cell carriers are going to be looking for data capacity
Right.
that matches and competes with at a price that they can live with their competitors.
Right.
Verizon has installed 50,000 of these and anticipates another 10,000 just this year.
Aren't they go
So
getters?
it's a serious competitive business.
So in our town, we're looking at potentially 3 would cover the whole town for one carrier.
I can't be I can't be that precise.
No, but I'm just
I
thinking
would say
roughly.
maybe 3, maybe 5. We don't know.
And
We
that would
just don't
be
know.
on the corners even, so that they can actually
No,
broadcast
there'll be core
further.
places right in the middle of town that don't need them as well. And it's starting, of course, with the heavy data loads at
Some near the train
railroad
station
stations.
and.
Well, I see these every day on my way to work, only most of the time they also have included, traffic cameras and, all kinds of things
Yeah.
along with
Many mounts.
the, yeah. Not that we want that.
Yep, got it. Thank you, Trustee Arnett. Other questions, comments? Mark, this is very helpful, and again, thank you. This is something, again, that is partially driven by the demand from our residents, partially driven by the demand of the market, and we want to be able to get ahead of that and make some sense out of it and logically meet that demand. So, again, coming to an agenda near you. Anything else, Mark, for the good of the cause on that, Counselor?
An understanding about the ground mounting is going to be, is that now the first option with the staff moving it up, or is it pole mounted and the option to move it down?
I'm hearing consensus. If it can't be integrated in the poll, it sounds like ground is the consensus.
And, but give
great.
staff the ability to tell them they can put it up if they want.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Langen. With that, Mr. Polipshin, any other items under the manager's report?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
All right. With that, then, we will advance to agenda item number 7, public comments regarding matters that are not on our agenda this evening.
Hello,
Welcome.
my name is Amira Ballin, and I am here on behalf of the Berks Court neighbors in regards to the green space next to the water tower on the west end of Berks Court. We've heard some information that has us concerned, so we are here to get some clarification on the property. First of all, we would like to know if the village has been approached by anyone purchasing or developing the land.
Okay. If you have other questions, just go ahead, through them, and then we can.
Okay. The second is if the village is actively seeking a buyer or working with a developer on the property in question. And the third is what is the village's what's the village's plans for the property?
Okay, very good. I'll address that, and I'll turn it over to Bob if you've got anything. Generally, and again, thanks for taking the time to come out and visit with us on that. This is not something the board has discussed or been advanced to us by the staff of the board. I'm sort of aware of it just being around town as a resident. We, the village, are not seeking a developer as it is on that. I think you may be referring to the field club and some of the things they would like to do with that area. So I'm generally aware of that. It's not a matter that's come before any of our commissions yet, which is likely where it would start, either a zoning or a plan commission matter. That's not to say we're not interested. We just don't know a lot about it. I know, have they met somewhat with you all, Bob, yet, or?
I don't know the answer to the first question, but I could tell you that from an operational standpoint, we are not seeking a buyer for that land. And our plans is to use it as it's currently being used, and that is dry detention for the neighborhood. So unless somebody's gonna pay for the cost of making that up, and that's assuming all the other things that haven't even been considered yet, are all made equal. It really doesn't matter if somebody's approached us about that, and I don't remember what the latest is on that.
Why don't we take a step back? The land in question, maybe for the rest of the board, maybe define
Sure.
sort of the ownership structure and traditional use history, and where it is. So it's right next to the Field Club and Burke's Court, right, sort of south of the Field Club.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Near the
Yes.
tennis courts, yeah. Water tower. Go ahead, Bob.
No, that's okay. That's generally the area.
And maybe talk about the ownership structure if you know it, since I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, we own it.
Right. So it's clear title.
That I don't know for sure. I know there's been other issues associated with that property in terms of its use and whether it was sanctioned use for purposes of overfull parking. But as far as an actual, looking to buy, I don't remember that as a detail item.
Right. We've got a great relationship with the Field Club, the Country Club, the Park District. We know they're having some visioning sessions, and they're talking about what their members want of that nature, but that really hasn't advanced yet. So I think if we answered all three of your questions, we don't have a position on it because it's really not something we've discussed. But I think
you're not actively looking for anyone to purchase the land at this time.
No.
Okay.
And by right of you describing, I guess, your questions, that's a marker for the board as we get this, if we're going to get it. Sometimes we never see a proposal we think we might see. We'll certainly, be careful and public about our discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Other public comments regarding matters that are not on our agenda this evening? Seeing none, item number 8, trustee comments. Any trustee comments for this evening? Seeing none, we have no matters before closed session. Item 10, we seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned until April 11th, 7:30. Thank you.